Welcome to the Nightly News Podcast. This is Professor Paul Miller sitting in today with Internship Coordinator Kristin Fike. Kristin, it's so wonderful for you to join the Nightly News Podcast today.
Thank you, Professor Miller.
So what we're here to talk about on this fine afternoon is the upcoming Internship Fair that's going to be taking place Tuesday, July 25th at the Conference Center at the campus of the Summerdale Central Penn College location. That's going to be from 10 a.m. till noon. And we just want to talk about some of the things that with the Internship Fair with you today, Kristin. And I certainly hope that we can shed some light on some of the reasons why we want to encourage the students to go to the Internship Fair. First off, my first question, Kristin, is I understand that in previous years it was called the Job and Internship Fair. How is this year's, for maybe someone who had been there last year, how's the focus going to change this year for the students that show up to the event?
This year, we decided to focus specifically on internships and, shed light to those specifically. We are still having our large job fair in the fall. That will be on November 1st. So we are absolutely still having that. But I decided this year to really focus on internships and have an event solely geared towards that. That way, students can come and just have their mindset on internship. And, when they're talking to employers, sometimes it's overwhelming thinking about career and internship and what do I say to an employer. So I wanted them to have an opportunity where they could just come and focus solely on internship.
One of the interesting things that when I first got here to Central Penn College that really drew me toward wanting to spend my career here, it was two specific things that I know that you and I have dealt with quite a lot. Number one, requiring the students to do an internship. I think that it is absolutely essential, especially for our students who may not have a lot of experience. Now, certainly we do offer capstone in certain cases, but we do try to encourage our students to take internship. To be honest with you, that was one of the main reasons. The other being the fact that we do require the community service element of it. And that is something that I know that at least if a student is leaving Central Penn College, they're leaving with a fair amount of experience. They're going to have a very quality internship, and they're also going to have different opportunities working out in the community. Can you tell me why you think, in addition maybe to what I said, why an internship is so important for our students here at the college?
Absolutely. It is our students' sometimes first chance to apply the skills and knowledge that they learned in the classroom to the workplace directly. And that is incredibly invaluable. It's also one of the first contacts that they make in the field. So, some internships lead to part-time or full-time employment. So sometimes it's that segue into their career. If the internship does not offer employment, it is a great resource as far as a letter of recommendation. Your site supervisor could be a reference for you. So honestly, it's a stepping stone to your career.
One of the interesting things I want to bring along here is some of my background. I actually had two different internships, one when I was in undergrad and one when I was in grad school, and both internships led to a position after I was done. Now, as you mentioned, that certainly does not always happen. However, I had the opportunity to go in to meet the people I was working with. They got to see my work ethic and the type of person that I was, the type of knowledge that I had, and that led to me directly, in both cases, receiving sort of an extension of my internship. One of the companies I worked at for about a year after, the other company I stayed on with for about 6 years. So I hear a lot of students, I've got some experience already. I'm not sure if I want to do an internship, especially if it's unpaid. Mm-hmm. Which leads me to my next question that I get from a lot of students about internships. Can we talk about some of the benefits and maybe disadvantages of either taking a paid versus an unpaid internship?
Well, I always let our students know to not expect a paid internship because not everyone is offered paid. We work with a variety of companies who offer internships. Those are nonprofit organizations, government agencies, larger corporations. Typically, nonprofit organizations and government agencies, they're not able to offer paid just because of their status specifically. That doesn't mean that they don't offer a quality internship. They absolutely still do. I would say sometimes the differences between the two is really the student's mindset. If they are going into a paid internship, sometimes they treat it more like a job, but you should absolutely still be doing that within an unpaid internship. This is still a job for you. This is your chance to practice your skills and knowledge in the field. And this is like a job interview for you as well. How you do in your internship really sets you up for if you're offered a position going forward, whether it was a paid or unpaid internship.
Would you say a lot of the companies that have interns are maybe using it as sort of a way to try to find new talent for an organization?
Absolutely. I absolutely hear from employers who are going that route, who maybe have created new positions within their company. And one that I can think about specifically that's related to communications is a social media position. I had a few companies within the past year that said, we would like to add a social media component to our business, and we would like to start by offering an internship to a student.
I think that one of the things, too, if we're talking about the difference between paid and unpaid, and actually in some of my classes I talk about the difference between a paid and unpaid internship, and correct me if I'm wrong with any of these, and a lot of what I'm going to say comes from my own experience, not only being an internship, but also overseeing some of our interns recently. Paid internships often have much more strict job descriptions, and as you mentioned, if you're getting paid, maybe you take it more like a job as a student, but also if the company is paying you, they are going to expect results as well. I've found that an unpaid internship, while still so important to learning professionalism and learning the ins and outs of organizational communication and things like that, to be honest with you, might be a little bit more understanding of a more flexible schedule, those types of things. Not to say that they don't have expectations for you, but maybe to say that it's a little bit more informal in certain scenarios. But again, I don't think that that's really an issue. I think that that's a good thing for many of our students.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree.
So let's focus a little bit more on the Internship Fair. Again, the Internship Fair is July the 25th from 10 to noon at the Central Penn Conference Center. We are asking that you pre-register, and you can do that by emailing Kristin Fike at centralpenn.edu. And we can certainly make sure that if you're pre-registered, you'll have a name tag and everything. So let me ask you this, Kristin. For students who may be in their first to second year, maybe aren't even looking for internship for a little while, why might a student in that position benefit from coming to the Internship Fair?
I always tell students be thinking about internship from day one, because you never know what employer you're going to come across. You never know what type of opportunity they're offering. So I tell students, even when you have a guest speaker in the classroom or you go out on field trips, just have internship in mind, because you never know who you're going to be in front of and what they're offering. So while, if you're in first year or second year, you don't have to be applying to internship at this point, just be thinking about it. Start to think about what interests you in the field. And if you're not sure, ask the employer. Ask them, what they do within their company and how that would fit your major and what your skills and knowledge are. So I would say be focusing the first few years, what interests you in the field and what would you want to do on internship.
One of the interesting things, too, that I always think about internship, and one of the things that maybe in higher education, maybe we could do a better job of, and I've been striving to do this, is really just educating the students about what jobs are available out there. I mean, while we do have many students from outside of this area, we also have many students that live in our Harrisburg market. So to educate them on, here's the players in your field. These are the companies that are hiring and that there are opportunities within. And to me, that's one of the biggest things. I was so fortunate to have someone from Sakunis come in recently to the class and talk a little bit more about what they do. To be honest, none of the students had ever even heard of it. Now, I was familiar with it just from working here and working with them in the past, not working with them, but in an informal format. But to be honest with you, none of the students had ever even heard of something like that. So just doing some career exploration. This is what I do. Here's a day in the life of what I do, and I was a corporate communications major. Really goes a long way. And in fact, I got some amazing feedback when we had them in last term. So my point is, what you're trying to get at is we always have to be on the lookout for, here's what we can do, here's what positions are available out there, here are the players in the market.
Absolutely.
So one of the other things that I did want to bring up is, let's talk about a little bit further along the line. Maybe for some students who are relatively new to the school, or maybe just don't really know the ins and outs, when can students begin to take internship? I know we typically save that for the end. Is there a possibility for them to do it not in their last term?
There is a possibility, and we call that early start internship. In order to be approved for an early start internship, there are requirements specifically. You have to be at least a 3.0 GPA, and you have to be at least 3/4 of the way through your program. And if you have to find an opportunity that is relevant to your field and your program specifically. So if you find an internship that is earlier than your last term and you meet those two requirements, students would want to come to me directly, and we would do the early internship request form. I would then submit that to your respective program chair to see if we can get approval for you to do internship early.
So if they would come to this and maybe there's still a few more terms down the road for an internship, if they were, say, offered one there at the internship fair, they could start this process?
Absolutely.
And it's at a perfect time, too, because say someone would walk in there, that's right around time when we're scheduling classes next term, too.
Yes.
So I even know that our club president, Sherry, had shared on a previous experience at the CPEC job fair that she walked into the job fair and left with an internship. So that would be wonderful if some of our students could do the same thing, and then the process is relatively quick. Maybe they could get that on their schedule for fall, even
Absolutely.
if they have that kind of opportunity. Well, that's fantastic. So one more quick recap, and then I'm going to ask just a couple of more questions today, Kristin, about the Internship Fair. Mm-hmm. We're speaking to Kristin Fike. She's the Internship Coordinator here at Central Penn College, and the Internship Fair is coming up on Tuesday, July 25th from 10 a.m. to noon. So we've talked about people maybe earlier on in their program. We talked about people and maybe about what time they should really start looking for internship, getting serious about finding one. What is some of the best practices that you can suggest when the students are coming to the internship fair, maybe as a little checklist, if you will?
I am requiring that students dress professionally to attend the event. If students do not have professional dress wear available, we do have an assortment of clothing in our Career Resource Center. For men, we have dress shirts, pants, ties. For women, we have dress shirts, pants, skirts, dresses, and everything in between. So if students, are worried that they don't have that professional clothing available, they can absolutely stop by a Career Resource Center to see if they could pick something up from us, and it is free as well.
Before you continue on the checklist, as far as clothing goes, what are you, when you say dressing professionally, are we talking business casual here? Are we talking like totally formal here? What is your best suggestion?
I would say absolutely business casual. So for the males, dress shirt, tie, dress pants. Suit jacket is optional. If you absolutely want to wear that, that's wonderful. But the very minimum business casual for that.
So definitely one thing is the dress. Obviously, setting a great first impression is super important when you're meeting a lot of these individuals that are coming, and we'll get to that in just a second. What are some other pieces of advice that you can give to our students?
Bring multiple copies of your resume. That way, if you are meeting with employers specifically and they asked for your contact information, you have a resume on hand to provide to them.
And of course, you always, you and the entire Career Services Department does offer an opportunity to sit down and look at someone's resume if maybe they're not quite sure if it's done properly.
Absolutely.
So, you will never meet anyone that's a more bigger advocate of what you do than me. I always make sure to talk about it in all my classes. All right, so let's talk about some of the individual companies that are going to be coming. We had a little discussion in our pre-show meeting. We did want to point out that the internships are going to be for many of our different programs, including business and marketing, accounting, communications, IT, criminal justice, legal, and small business and entrepreneurship. So can you tell us some of the companies that are going to be here?
As of today, we have 26 companies registered to attend, and I'm hoping that number goes up a little bit over the next week. But we have companies that are representing a variety of different areas and across all of the programs that you just mentioned. Just to give you an idea of a handful that are attending: Hershey Entertainment and Resorts, Dauphin County IT Administration, PSCCU, the JDK Group, which is a local catering company, the American Lung Association, and CASA of Lancaster.
And all these are companies that the college has worked with in the past?
Absolutely. And
that's another thing that I just think that you do such a wonderful job of at the school is fostering these relationships with these businesses that we have in the community. And that's one really positive thing that certainly anyone that comes to the college understands, that we have a great relationship with a lot of these local businesses. They want our interns. And I'm sure you have people calling you all the time, hey, do you have any great interns you can send to us?
I absolutely do.
So it's wonderful to have had the opportunity to talk to you today, Kristin. We're a huge advocates of what you're doing at the Internship Fair. I will certainly be there. I'm bringing my class down. And certainly if any of the faculty are listening as well, they can certainly bring their classes down as well if they would like.
Absolutely. They could just contact me and let me know if they're bringing their classes and let me know their students, and I can have pre-printed name tags available.
Couldn't have more laid out on a silver platter for everyone here. So I really hope that this goes very well for you, Kristin. I'm very excited to see what the new Internship Fair is like. And if nothing else, even though I know some of my students maybe aren't quite ready to look for internship yet, I think it's important for them to know what jobs are out there, what positions are out there, who the players are, the companies that are going to be looking for our students. So, all right. Well, Kristin, thank you so very much for joining us today. We are one more final time. The Internship Fair is coming up on Tuesday, July 25th from 10 a.m. to noon in the Central Penn Conference Center. Kristin, thank you so much for stopping down today and talking about the Internship Fair.
Thank you, Professor Miller.
You're very welcome, and we'll be right back with the Nightly News Podcast. Welcome to the Nightly News Podcast, everyone. We are so pleased today to be joined by two wonderful people here on the Central Penn College campus. We're going to start off with introducing Sandra Box from the Education Foundation. She's going to be here today talking about the Foundation Scholarship essay contest that's coming up, and also the golf outing that the Education Foundation does every year to support our students. Sandy, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, it's certainly not a problem. And as our co-host here today, the Vice President of the Nightly News, Yuli Sidejo. Yuli.
Hi, everyone.
It is always a pleasure to have you, Yuli. Yuli's here today for a specific reason, and Yuli, we'll chat with you in just a second about the Education Foundation and what it's meant to you. But Yuli has received in the past some of these Education Foundation scholarships, and we hope to get some thoughts from her about how that has impacted her education. But I first want to start off with Sandy. Sandy, can you tell the audience a little bit about what your role is with the Education Foundation and what maybe some of the things that you do on a daily basis are?
Sure. I'm Associate Director of the Education Foundation, and my prime responsibility is to distribute scholarships to the students here. So twice a year, the Education Foundation opens up the scholarship process to our students. They have about a month to apply. All of the essays are reviewed by 5 different evaluators, so it makes it a nice, fair process that we go through. So that's what I do twice a year, but on a regular basis, on a daily basis, I might have students coming in asking me questions. How do I apply for a scholarship? Am I eligible for a scholarship? So I answer those questions. And the other thing that I'm responsible for is, of course, working with the donors to make certain that their wishes are met when a scholarship recipient is selected for specific scholarships that the donors have funded. I've been doing this, as in scholarships, for the last 15 years, not all here, but at another institution that I used to be at. And I find it very enjoyable to see students coming in and being truly appreciative of the opportunity to apply for a scholarship, and then once they receive the scholarship, very, very much appreciated when they come in to see me, and they'll say thank you very much, and they bring me their thank you notes, and it's a very fulfilling job that I think I have.
That's amazing that you say that. One of the things that I do as part of my CPC Foundations, which is previously freshman seminar, one of the things that I do during that class is I take 2 different days and I go into all the details about how easy it is and how wonderful it is that we have the Education Foundation here. Now, I do talk about other scholarship opportunities that they may have elsewhere, but the very first thing that I start is you don't have any idea how lucky you are to be at a school that has a fairly easy scholarship process to go through. And being on the scholarship selection committee, which I joined you for the first time last year, and it was wonderful. We had a wonderful time, but you are no nonsense. We sit down, we get right to business, and that's great. You're very efficient with that. But it is something to me that is so important to educate the students about how many scholarships and grant opportunities that are out there, starting, number one, with the Education Foundation.
It is amazing, I have to say. Last term, we awarded over $100,000.
That's incredible.
It is for a small institution. I mean, we really do try the best to hit as many students as we can. I think we had 197 applicants last term. And out of those 197, at the end, once we were all done distributing, I think we were able to award about 114 students.
Wow.
So more than half of the people
Correct.
that applied. And you also said that was a high year as far as applicants as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the normal is usually around 140 to 160. So with 197 applications, it was like, what happened? Somebody got the word out, which is good.
Honestly,
Yes.
I will be the first to admit that I am one of those people that has done everything I can to get the word out. And I hope that every single person that I talk to, and I have in one of my classes, does it. And I hope that those numbers continue to increase because in my personal opinion, if somebody doesn't take the time to do something as simple as you're asking to do for something that years from now, not only are they going to have to pay, say someone's taken out loans. This is the point I make in class. Say someone's taken out loans. Well, say they receive, let's just take a $500 scholarship. By the time it comes to them paying back those loans, it's not $500 anymore.
Right.
It's $750. It's $1,000. I mean, you can crunch the numbers if you want.
Absolutely.
So really, regardless of what the scholarship amount is, and if you're taking loans out, they're actually getting considerably more than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that I've worked on is trying to inspire the students to do this, and this is why I brought Yuli here today. Yuli has won, how many previous scholarships have you won,
I
Yuli?
think 3 to 5, probably.
That's unbelievable. So think about what that means to you, Yuli. What does that mean to you that you have an education foundation here at Central Penn College that's looking out for your best interests and is awarding these scholarships to you? What does that mean to you?
I think it means a lot to me in terms of financially because sometimes my financial aid doesn't cover all the times during certain specific term. So I have to work around my schedule. I work 2 jobs and I still trying to manage to pay all the bills that I have. And I'm grateful for example, I received one this year from January, the one that they just opened. That money that I received helped me during this summer term to take 1 more classes. I do have to pay a little bit off from my own pocket, but it still helped me to be able to get that 1 credit classes to be able to get ahead of time. And I also use sometimes if there's some leftover from the scholarship foundation, I usually use it for books and for other things that I can being able to manage from school.
And Yuli, I think you're underselling yourself. Not only do you work 2 jobs and go to school full time,
Yes.
you're also the SGA president.
Yes.
You're the vice president of the Nightly News.
Yes.
You're involved with several other clubs. You're involved in theater productions. I mean, you're underselling what you're doing. So,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Yuli's making a great point in that. I think part of what she's saying is, if I didn't have this scholarship, I might have to work more, and that might decrease my involvement in some of the many clubs that I'm involved with. And so that alone is going to help you build your resume
Yes.
while you're in school and maybe lighten your debt load when you're out. So I think that's a fantastic point that you made there, Yuli. Sandy, there's just a couple questions that I want to ask you about the essay contest itself. Along with this podcast, I'll put up all the links that you need. But if anybody wants to start this process, it'll open up July 7th. So that actually opened up during week 1. And the final essay will be due August 7th. So anytime between July 7th and August 7th, you can go to foundation.centralpenn.edu, and that's going to give you the form. And it's just a very simple essay process to go through. Can you share with us what the essay question is for this year?
Well, this year, what we try and do is every year we try to make the essay question easy for people to answer, but allowing the evaluators to get a little bit of information about the student. So we go through a process. When I will send out a request at the beginning of, a couple months before the next scholarship process opens, and I'll ask for input. I ask for suggestions from various faculty and staff throughout the campus. I also go back out to some of our evaluators because I want to get a good question, but I don't want people to be penalized. So the questions are usually just common sense questions. Tell me what it is about you that would make you benefit from this scholarship. And this year's question is...
I'll read it word for word here.
Okay, cool.
Education gives you the foundation to achieve goals. After graduating and successfully starting your career, what are the ways you see yourself giving back personally, socially, and as a tribute to Central Penn College?
Right. So you see, there's no right or wrong answer for this essay, and that's the way we try and do all of our essays. The essay is not to penalize people. It's to get the information that we need to see, are you the kind of student that our donors want to support? I tell people all the time, our donors have the opportunity to give their money to anybody they want to, any college that they want to. We want to make certain that we are good ambassadors for our donors, and so we want to make certain that we're getting the students who are committed, like Yuli, who are committed to being a good student, who are committing to being involved on campus. The all-around good student. They don't have to be the best student, but they have to be involved. I mean, that's what we're looking for, and that's one of the reasons that we put those kind of questions out there, to get some ideas to what they're thinking about. Not only what are they thinking about now, but what are they thinking about with their future?
I agree.
Where do they see themselves? Or do they want to give back in some way, shape, or form?
And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's going to be a quick segue to where we're going next. Is I wanted to talk to you about the Stabler Scholarship. You do have one of the scholarships that's available, and you award different values depending on a lot of different factors. But one of the, I don't want to say requirements, but one of the things that you ask if students are to be considered for this is, will you at some point down the line give back to Central Penn College, sort of pay it forward? So we'll gladly give you this money now, and we ask that you consider doing the same down the line.
Right.
What impact has that had on cultivating some new donors from some previous alumni who have been awarded the scholarship?
I will have to say that some of our alumni have been very, very generous in giving back because of the fact that they were Stabler recipients. Like you said, it's not a financial obligation, it's a moral obligation. And that's what Mr. Stabler was hoping that people would think about when they receive this scholarship, when they're selected to receive it, that they would do the same thing that he did. I mean, he was a huge benefactor in the Harrisburg area. He gives to many colleges, not just Central Penn. And so we at Central Penn want to make certain that we have the type of students that are going to, first off, appreciate it. Second off, think about giving back. So annually, when we do the report to the Stabler Foundation, that we're able to say, yes, we have received donations from several different alumni who were appreciative and appreciative recipients when they were here. They are thrilled. The Stabler Foundation is thrilled with the job that we're doing because of the fact that we are actually holding students accountable to a certain point. As a matter of fact, I'm just getting ready to send out an annual appeal to all of the scholarship recipients who have received the Stabler Foundation award that have graduated. Not students that are still here. We don't want to financially burden any student that's still here, but once they've graduated, and we're not saying that you have to give it all back at one time. Even if students start giving back $25 a year, and then the next year maybe $50 a year, it's not so much that they give it all back now, but that they learn to give back, whether it's to the college, which we're hoping that it is too, but to give back to society itself. And so, that's one of the lessons that he wanted to teach. That's one of the requirements of the Stabler Foundation scholarship. But I think it's a good obligation. I really do.
And one of the reasons that I love the fact that I get to continue my career here with the college, and one of the main appeals to me when I first started here, was the community service. And so I think between what you're saying as far as giving back to the community, that is something that Central Penn College has ingrained in all of us who work here, and hopefully all of the students who are also a part of what we're trying to do here, is that we do think how important it is to give back to not only the community, but to the school to a certain point as well. Yuli, that brings me to my next question. So obviously, since you have won many, we'll just put it at many, Education Foundation scholarships, for some of the students out there who might be listening, can you just give a couple of tips on how you formatted your essay and how you've been so successful on the essays?
So usually I read the question and then read it over time, like probably 3 times, and then leave it there and then think a second about what do I want to say in the essay regarding about the question. And then usually I jot it down for a little bit and then leave it, and then come back again for the next day. And then, okay, so this is my point. And if I have this point, I'm going to divide it into 3 categories. That's what I usually do. Usually I will open introduction for a little bit of who I am a little bit. And then the second and third will talk about the meat. And then the third one will be the solution or the closing paragraph. And usually the foundation scholarship also looking for roughly 300 to 500 words.
Right.
And one of the reasons why the scholarship foundation application is also easy, because they don't really look for a long essay to be written. And once after I decided what is the opening, the meat, and the conclusion, I will write the essay, and then I bring it to the writing center. Usually, for me personally, I check on grammar, and then I check on the content with Dalton James to make sure that, okay, does this make sense for between the first paragraph until the closing? Is it make sense? And then is it really answering the question? That's what usually I always ask for him. And other than that, I always trying to involve some of my involvement in school too, and also in community hours. When Prosamil talk about community service, my 50 hours is done between my first to second term, and I did it with a lot of different people. I don't want to stick to only one organization, and I remember I did two organizations, and that was wonderful. And I'm glad that I was able to bring some couple stuff into the essay, because that's what they're looking for.
And just a note too, 300 to 500 words is like a couple of paragraphs.
Yes.
So it's certainly not something where you have to be intimidated about writing a long essay. And I did want to follow up. The idea of taking it to the Writing Center is something which is now going to, through a transition, to be called the Learning Center with Dalton.
Yes.
And to be perfectly honest with you, that is something that I encourage all students, before they bother turning it in, to make sure that it makes sense to have someone else read it. And certainly if you have the opportunity to go to the Learning Center, that would be a place to go.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the final thing that I wanted to talk about with you here today, Sandy, is you have one of the crown jewel events of the Education Foundation coming up here on Friday, August the 18th. And that is going to be the Central Penn College Education Foundation Golf Outing. This is the 46th year of the golf outing. And there's a tagline there that says, empowering student success. Can you tell us just a little bit about, and we can get into this year's event in just a second, but can you tell us a little bit about the event in general? What, if someone would come out, what they would expect on a typical year of the golf outing?
Well, I'm told by all of the attendees that it's probably one of the best golf tournaments that they participate in. And this comes from golfers who participate in many. So I'm assuming that it's because we have a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But we have a lot of fun with one purpose in mind, and one purpose only, and that is to raise scholarship dollars for our students. This is the only event that we annually do to raise funds, and we usually target our business community, but also our faculty and staff who want to participate. But that's the sole purpose of the event, is to raise scholarship dollars, and I really do try and bring that home when I'm talking to people at the event, telling them that every dollar that's raised here goes to scholarships assistance. Yes. And it's just really a feel-good event. Everybody has a great time. Some people have a better time than others, depending upon how they're golfing. I don't know. But, and we have raffle items available. We have 50-50 drawings. So it really is just a really great day of fun.
And the one thing I did want to point out is that even if you're not a golfer, there also is the opportunity to come just for lunch as well.
Right, absolutely. And we do have some people that just come out for the lunch because they want to see the presentations of who the winners are, or they just want to stop in because they have an hour or two that they can see some of the community members, some of the business leaders in the area, and just to hang out and see what the day brings. Because at that point in time, we start, we award the first, second place golfers, and we do the raffle items, and then we usually have a little bit of a surprise for some of our students that are participating that day. So, like I said, it's just a really good, feel-good event, and I've heard nothing but positive feedback since I've been here, and I've been doing this. I think this is my 6th year here that I've been doing this. So,
Wow.
Yay!
So, of all the people that have golfed from Central Penn College, who would you say is the best golfer of faculty or staff that usually comes out?
Well, the best one, I don't know. I will tell you, though, that there are some colorful golfers that come out. I recall one time where Todd Milano golfed with us, and you almost needed sunglasses because of his pants. Steve Hassinger is always on the golf course. Now, whether or not he's a good golfer or a bad golfer, I have no idea. But he has a good time. He did, however, have a little mishap last year, and Megan Peterson ended up with mud all over her. And I'm going to let you ask them about that. But they all have a good time. And really, that's the important thing, is that everyone that's out on the golf course that day has a great time. And that's what it's all about.
Just a reminder, the Education Foundation golf outing is coming up Friday, August the 18th, and that's going to be starting at 8:30, yes?
Yes.
And the lunch, there's not a specific set time, but Sandy said around between 1:30 and 2 o'clock is typically when the lunch starts. I am going to make it over for lunch. I'm going to make sure that I sign up and take care of my payment with that. Employees of Central Penn College, so faculty, staff, $99 if they would like to come. A regular entry from outside of the Central Penn family is $125. And to be honest with you, that's actually extremely affordable for one of these golf outings. I've golfed in ones that were well north of that. So, and to know that it was such a wonderful cause, I really think, and wish you the best.
Thank you.
But certainly hope for continued success. And I guess my final question would be, anything special on the books for number 50? I know that's a few years down the line.
Oh, my goodness. No, I don't have anything in the books, any ideas for that right now.
I know you just want to get through this year. And then
it's always just like get through 46 first.
Well, Sandy, it's been wonderful to have you down on the Nightly News Podcast. I know this is the first time you've been down to our new studio, and we really appreciate you coming down. And trust me, of all the people on this campus, I am one of the Education Foundation's largest advocates. I always try to push my students to do the essay contests and to touch base with you and to find out, if nothing else, how they can get involved in potentially getting some scholarships, or if nothing else, just having a positive relationship with you and Matt, because you all both do just a wonderful, wonderful job.
Oh, thank you very much. We love when we see students coming in, and I love that faculty send them up to me because they have a question about a scholarship, or how do I apply? Can I apply? And my door's always open to answer those questions. I encourage every student that is here, that is eligible. And we talked about new students coming in. So new students coming in may not have a GPA here at Central Penn. And I still encourage them, please apply for the scholarship, go through the process. You'll be evaluated. Once a GPA is available, if you're eligible, you might get it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Yuli, I just wanted to thank you for spending time with the podcast today. I really am so happy that you're so involved with the Education Foundation, and I wish you congratulations. And not only congratulations on your previous scholarship, but best of luck on this year's.
Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah. So just a quick recap. For the Education Foundation Scholarship Essay Contest, you can go to foundation.centralpenn.edu. The deadline for submission is August the 7th, but please don't wait until August the 7th to start, because the essay, as Yuli mentioned, might take you some time. Listen back to some tips on from Yuli on how to approach it, and certainly if you have any questions, you can email Sandra Box at centralpenn.edu. The Education Foundation also has the golf outing coming up Friday, August the 18th. That's going to be an 8:30 start. It's at Rich Valley in Mechanicsburg, Rich Valley Golf Course in Mechanicsburg. And if you would, even if nothing else, you can certainly come down for lunch as well. The employee to golf in the tournament is $99. A regular entry is $125. And so this Education Foundation would love if you could get involved with the things they have going on over the course of the next couple of weeks. Sandy, Yuli, thank you so much for spending your time with the Nightly News today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So for Yuli Cedejo, Vice President of the Nightly News, and for Sandy Box from the Education Foundation, this is Professor Paul Miller, and we'll catch you next time on the Nightly News Podcast.